We start with breaking news from the International Criminal Court in The Hague, which has issued arrest warrants for Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant for war crimes in Gaza and crimes against humanity. A warrant has also been issued for Hamas's military chief, Mohammed Diab. Israel says he was killed by a strike in July in Gaza, though Hamas denies he's dead. Straight to our correspondent, Christine Mundwa in Brussels. Welcome, Christine. Walk us through what the ICC has said and the implications of these warrants.
Yes, Phil. So the statement from the ICC reads that in the case of Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel's former Defence Minister Yoav Gallant, they have found both individuals to have intentionally and knowingly deprived the civilian population in Gaza of objects indispensable to their survival. They cite food, water, medicine and medical supplies, as well as fuel and electricity. We're told that the three judges who were on this panel made the unanimous decision to issue these warrants for Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Gallant. Now, as it pertains to the implications of this, you will know that Israel, Phil, is not a member of the International Criminal Court, and the issue of jurisdiction, whether the court has the ability to be able to look into this was even possible, has been going back and forth between Israel and the ICC. The warrants have been issued now. The court argues that it does have the jurisdiction over this case. But what does it actually mean? Well, the court cannot enforce these warrants. It relies on its member states to enforce the warrants on its behalf. That is, if the people in question travel to a country that happens to be an ICC member state, that country has the obligation to effect the arrest and have the people sent to the ICC. We know that, for example, the United States is not a member of the International Criminal Court. So if Mr. Netanyahu were to travel to Washington, for example, the US would not be expected to enforce that arrest. But here in Brussels, EU member states are signatories of the International Criminal Court, and they would have to. I might just maybe give you an example of when the Russian president, who also has a warrant out for him, could not make it to the BRICS summit in South Africa because South Africa would have to effect the arrest. So in that sense, it will probably frustrate the movements that Mr. Netanyahu can make, but I don't think anybody expects that he would be arrested anytime soon.
OK, thank you for that, Christine. That's DW correspondent Christine Mundwa in Brussels. And now to Tanya Kramer in Jerusalem. Welcome, Tanya. As we just heard, Israeli authorities critical as these warrants were being sought. What are they saying now they've been issued?
Well, I mean, this is, of course, is seen as a massive and a major development in this legal case, and reactions from Israeli politicians are actually pouring in as we speak. We still have to hear from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu himself, who is scheduled today to meet with the special envoy, US envoy Amos Hochstein, to speak about a possible ceasefire with Hezbollah. But, you know, already back in May, we saw a massive pushback there when the ICC prosecutor decided that he was seeking arrest warrants against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the then Defence Minister Yoav Gallant. He was dismissed in the meantime. He is no longer Defence Minister, but he also sought those arrest warrants against three Hamas leaders that are all believed to have been killed, at least for two of them, we know for sure. Now, Israel had argued then already that it's absurd and it was a distorted view that they were targeted by the ICC, while Hamas was the one that perpetrated the October 7 attacks, as well as they were questioning the legality of that, as to say that the ICC, as they're not a signatory, would have a jurisdiction in this case. But all of this now, after weighing the evidence by the court, is now that the court issued now these arrest warrants for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Okay, and you mentioned there the court also issued warrants for Hamas leaders thought to be dead at this stage.
Exactly. Originally, the arrest warrants were sought for three Hamas leaders. That is Ismail Haniyeh. He was killed in an airstrike in Tehran. Also against basically the Hamas leader Mohammed Diab. He was supposedly killed in a strike in July. But the ICC said they couldn't verify this claim by Israel. This is apparently why they issued this arrest warrant. And we had another arrest warrant also for Yahya Sinwar that was supposed to be issued, but he was also killed now in the past month. So basically what we are seeing here, we have now the two Israeli leaders and one Hamas leader who is believed to have been killed. And as I said now, from the Israeli side, we have a lot of reactions are coming in from, for example, President Isaac Herzog. He is calling it a black day for justice. We also heard from the former Prime Minister and opposition leader Yair Lapid calling it a reward for terrorism. We also have heard already from members of Netanyahu's cabinet, far-right Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. He said this is an anti-Semitic decision once again, and this should be answered with applying sovereignty or annexing the Israeli-occupied West Bank. So we are expecting to hear, of course, more reactions here coming in as the ICC issued these arrest warrants.
And so where does this leave the Israeli government?
Well, I mean, as we just heard, I mean, really practically, it would mean now Benjamin Netanyahu is basically a wanted suspect. And this means for him, if he wants to travel in countries that are signatory to the Rome Statute or the ICC, he could be arrested. The same would, of course, go for the other, for Yoav Gallant. Of course, it's still a question whether those countries then will apply that. He can still travel to the United States, its closest ally. But it's also being discussed, it could further isolate the Israeli government. It could also make it harder in terms of coming to agreements, but it also, of course, impacts the legacy of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here being accused of war crimes and of crimes against humanity.
Thank you, Tanya. DW's Tanya Kramer in Jerusalem.